Subscribe to my channel. Harvey Sawyer stood outside his house as cold December wind blew through his jacket, and the place no longer felt like home because the windows were dark except for one light and there were no Christmas decorations anywhere, which felt wrong, especially after he had driven nonstop for 18 hours from Fort Bragg because something inside him said his daughter Melody needed him, and during their last phone call, she had sounded too calm and careful for an 8-year-old who should have been excited about Christmas. And when he opened the unlocked door and walked inside, the house was silent and cold with boxes stacked near the garage, untouched kitchen counters, and rooms that felt empty and lifeless until he saw Melody sitting quietly on the floor next to a bare Christmas tree with no decorations or presents, wearing the purple sweater he had sent her from his last deployment. And when she saw him, she ran into his arms and cried as he held her close and promised her he was there now. And when he asked where her mother was, Melody handed him a folded note written on fancy paper that said her mother, Christine, and grandparents Deborah and Gerald Hoffman were spending the holidays in the Bahamas, and that Melody was now Harvey's responsibility and not to bother calling. And Harvey felt anger rise as Melody calmly explained they had left 3 days earlier and expected Harvey not to come at all. And even worse, they had left her alone with frozen food and instructions on locking doors, which broke his heart. And then Melody told him she had found something important and ran upstairs to get a leather folder she had secretly taken from her grandfather's office while they were packing, and inside were documents showing that Gerald Hoffman had secretly ruined Harvey's father, Aaron Sawyer, years ago by changing contracts, bribing inspectors, and forcing his business to fail, which led to stress that caused Aaron's death. And afterward, Gerald bought Aaron's land cheaply to build his own company, and Harvey realized his father had been destroyed on purpose, and instead of anger, he felt calm focus, telling Melody she had done something brave and smart. And as she slept later that night in a warm hotel room, Harvey began planning carefully by contacting old friends, including a private investigator, a lawyer, and an accountant, and he uncovered proof that Gerald Hoffman had ruined many other people the same way over 15 years, using bribery and fraud. And Harvey understood his marriage had fallen apart because Christine had listened to her parents and chosen comfort over truth. And he promised Melody they would leave that house and have their own Christmas, which they did in a cabin in the mountains where they decorated a small tree, made hot chocolate, and laughed together. And while Melody played and healed, Harvey gathered more evidence and worked with law enforcement and a journalist to expose everything, making sure he had legal protection to keep Melody safe from any custody fight. And when the Hoffmans returned from vacation, they had no idea the trap was already set, and soon after, investigators raided their home, arrested Gerald and Deborah, and uncovered overwhelming proof of corruption, fraud, and bribery, including evidence connected to Harvey's father's case. And the news spread everywhere while Harvey remained quiet and protected. And during the custody hearing, Christine admitted Harvey was the better parent, and the judge gave Harvey full custody while Christine was allowed limited visits. And later, Christine apologized to Melody and began trying to change her life. And over time, the Hoffmans pleaded guilty and were sentenced to long prison terms while their money was taken and given back to their victims. And Harvey left the army to focus on being a father, working instead as an investigator. And Melody became happy again, smiling and feeling safe. And one night she asked if the bad people were sorry, and Harvey explained some people are only sorry they are caught, but what mattered was that she was loved and protected. And as spring came, Harvey knew his father's name had been cleared, justice had finally happened, and his daughter had a future built on truth, safety, and real family, not money or lies. Please subscribe